Hey folks, welcome back to Fresh Produce. I'm Pete from BTI. Today we've got a special one for you. I've got an interview set up with Brendan Moore of Wolftooth Components. So let's jump right into it. Brendan, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Pete. Good to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Really appreciate you taking the time today. And also thank you for a special giveaway we have planned for this video. So make sure you watch till the end. We'll give some details and you can get entered for a great giveaway at the end of the video. So thanks again for that, Brendan.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, let's get right into it. And Wolftooth is a really interesting company to me. I've worked with you guys for a long time, and it's so cool because it's just such a huge, wide breadth of product, so many different types of things, and a lot of really, really innovative things too. How do you come up with all these ideas?
The very simplest answer, Pete, is we ride bikes and love bikes at our core. I would say our company is 90+% people that ride. Our employees meet after work to ride. We just live it and breathe it. And, I think anybody that's spent enough time on a bike or doing anything, fishing, whatever, you come up with things you're like, man, I really wish this thing was like that, or somebody made something that did this. And so a lot of that, just a lot of authentic desire to make the cycling experience better. And that's where a lot of them start.
Yeah, I think that's you can really tell that is the background for a lot of the stuff, because you're clearly trying to make things work together. I want to put this mountain derailleur on my road bike. How do I make this work? It's in my mind clear that it comes from you guys trying to do things that aren't necessarily already possible or common, because you're riding all the time. It's cool.
Yeah. And, we do some of that solution-based stuff, call it the things that mount stuff together. But even, a lot of our recent developments around headsets and tools, and call them evergreen products, things that don't actually work with other people's stuff. They're standalone. And even there, we're always trying to figure out what can we add as far as value. Simple example, our seat post clamp, we actually spent some time developing the bolt that goes into the seat post clamp, and the spherical washer we use, and the material and all that to make the seat post clamp just a little bit better. Things like that. It's always a goal to have something, I don't know, we call it the Wolftooth flavor, added to something, anything we make. And so that's really fun because it's pretty easy to just produce another of something that exists in the market, another, whatever it is, stem, handlebar, whatever. But putting your own twist on it is the challenge, and that's where that creation and ideation comes from.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I can see, it sounds also like it's like you're not just trying to solve one problem, or what have you, but really make the product the best it can be all around. Think about all aspects of the product. As you were talking about the bolt itself, would have been easy to just buy a bolt from the catalog and put it into an excellent, really well designed, the rest of the seat post clamp. But thinking about each little detail is also really unique, I think. So that's cool to hear.
Yeah. It's and that, then, it kind of flows through the whole organization, because then whether it's a salesperson or a marketing person, talking about the product, they get excited because it does, it is a little better maybe or we feel it's better than what's out there. Obviously there's opinions vary and everybody's got them, but anyway.
Totally. Well, speaking of this kind of design process where you are considering every aspect, can you talk us through the process for how a product comes from idea all the way through delivery?
It's actually a pretty basic process. There's a couple fundamental key elements that we look at really early on. Obviously it starts with an idea. Hey, we should look at making a blank, a trinket. So then we got to look at, okay, well, how would we make that? What manufacturing techniques would we use? Because we do things, we have extrusions, we have molds, we have, obviously most of our parts are machined. Some parts are, how is it assembled? breaking that down into basically a cost, because ultimately, if you're going to sell something, the market will only bear a certain cost. There's been products where we've gotten to this step and we've looked at the cost and it's like, well, the market will never buy a $600 cassette.
Right.
Maybe they will, but whatever.
Right.
Like that was our opinion. And so it really starts with the idea and then a roughing out of, even if the design's not done, a roughing out of like, what do we think we can make it for? Yeah. And what can we sell it for? Because ultimately, I mean, it's a business. We got to keep the lights on. We pay all our employees.
Yeah, and you don't want to go too far down that design process before deciding whether it's worth that you're putting your time in, right?
That's right. And then the next step is really to get through the design. We do a ton of 3D printing here.
Cool.
We have, I think, usually 3 to 5 3D printers running it every day, much of the day. Kind of looking at concepting. And then once you kind of have a basic design concept, I'm not talking about complete drawings for production, then we go and start we make a bunch of our stuff internal. We make about half of our goods are machined in house here.
Yeah.
We have that sounding board for machine parts. We have other suppliers for locally or in the US and for molding and all the other things. And then we kind of more formalize that cost. And then if we're still good and we still think it's a good idea, then we kind of proceed to finishing design, testing. Usually we do some prototypes, do a bunch of testing. Some products you got to test. We have one product right now we've been testing for 4 years. We have other products that we test for like a day, like the things that, maybe combine a brake and a shifter. Is like, does it combine those things and does it ergonomically feel good? Okay, well, let's make it.
Yeah, it fits, it's strong. All right, done.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then you complete the testing process and go to production and hopefully people buy some.
Sweet.
That's that. So you got to do the upfront work to make sure, first of all, that you can even make it, and then it's economically feasible to make it. And then you proceed into actually getting the design done, I think. So.
Yeah, but 4 years of testing is a long time, and that's like kind of some cost to factor in as well, right? Yeah. But I mean, there are certain, as we've grown as a company, we've started to develop a lot more complex parts. Originally it was mostly chain rings, and then kind of took a step up with the dropper lever. Our dropper lever's quite a bit more complex than most as far as the number of parts and the machining. Definitely. And all that. Yeah. And then, some of the recent tools that you carry, they're maybe made up of 20 or 30 parts. And then you start getting into 40 and 50 part assemblies, and takes a really long time to make sure that's right. And again, like, I think people perceive our brand as being reliable and high quality. And anytime you come out with a new product, you want to uphold that. And so sometimes it just takes 4 years to make sure you're upholding that. Totally, yeah. Always worth releasing a good product, making sure you maintain your name in the market as well. So I commend you for doing it. It's great. Well, speaking of keeping your production in-house, or so much of the machining is done right by you guys, can you talk about like why you chose to do that and what the benefits are versus maybe the challenges to that approach?
Well, of course, start with the challenges. Of course, manufacturing in the United States isn't the cheapest thing. It's actually one of the most expensive places to do it. But that can be outweighed and actually at some level mitigated by how you do it. It can be outweighed also by the flexibility. And this really showed through in this last year. I mean, our fill rates with you guys have been pretty decent. But the reason that is the case is because I can literally walk out there and talk to the shop general manager, and we can shift production around to focus on the products that are selling. And the market's been dynamic. Like, we would find out supplier, we have competitors, and one of our competitors or all our competitors weren't fulfilling some need. Could be a specific chain ring. There's none of these available. I could walk out there and be like, hey, let's do a double batch of these, right, and get them through. Which again helped fill rates at all our suppliers, and also helped us grow. So that benefit, versus like, I'm sure we're being asked to place orders on the Otso bike side, our bicycle brand, for 2024. Like, I don't know what the market looks like in 2024. Are people going to be back on 100 millimeter stems, or like, I don't know.
Probably not on that one.
Okay, that's probably a safe bet. That's a bad example. But the point being, like, having that nimbleness and flexibility, and then, like, when we're bringing up new products, we kind of got to build ahead of the current products to make the space. And so having that just like totally under our thumbs, that much production capacity, we have like 13 CNC machines now, that much production capacity to just kind of like shuffle around on like a pretty real-time basis, like daily, isn't that common.
Yeah, that's incredible. Right.
And then we have 2 local suppliers that make about, a bunch of the rest of our stuff, maybe 40% more or something like that, 30 to 40. And they're only like 30 miles away.
Nice.
And all our anodizing is done locally. And so like all these things are just right here. So we can very quickly adjust to market demands, which has been more important than ever in the past 2 years.
No doubt about it. Yeah. Not to mention like shipping times around the world are so challenging. You guys just kind of don't have to deal with that with everything so close together.
That's right. We've had to move around. I mean, aluminum prices have gone up. That's been a challenge, of course. But we've had to move around our supply a bit, but there is aluminum available. You just have to sometimes pay a premium for it.
Yeah.
But we haven't really had any huge shipping delays because we don't use that much from overseas. I mean, there's a few fasteners and the like that'll come from overseas that we'll use, but other than that, it's almost all here. And yeah, the shipping times went from, I know this because of Otso cycles where, we have to deal with that. It's went from 4 to 5 weeks to, I'm seeing 12 to 16 in a lot of cases, weeks, and quadruple the cost, sometimes 10x the costs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have a whole lot of containers sitting in the port of Long Beach like most of America does.
None.
So
none, actually.
Super helpful and made sense right now more than ever. So like you say, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a kind of a trend towards trying to figure out how to onshore, whether that be in our industry, simple things like bike assembly, onshoring that. But we're definitely seeing interest in just talking to our manufacturing partners because they have, people that they work with in other industries. And these other industries are starting to realize how risky geocentric supply chain can be, wherever that originates. A lot of it is, of course, Asia. And a lot of them are looking to diversify. So, plan to make 25 or 50% in the US in perpetuity, not just because they can't get it now, but just as a hedge of, having a kind of a balanced supply. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues. I certainly hope it does. I think it's a safer way to run your business, but we'll see.
Right. Especially when you factor in politics and all kinds of other global stuff. And yeah, it definitely makes sense to me too. You guys are ahead of the curve, so that's awesome. Okay, so like I say, you have this huge catalog of products. Can you talk about like maybe one that you're the most proud of personally?
Oh, the one I'm the most proud of personally. Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think one of my favorite products that I use all the time is our encase system, the tools that go into the handlebar. I've saved myself and so many other people on rides with that. And like, that's kind of a rewarding experience when you're just like, you pull up and somebody's on the side of the trail with their bike upside down and they're like, oh, can I help? And then you pull this thing onto the handlebar and you're like, oh yeah, here. And you just like plug their tire or something like that. It's like,
yeah, here's all the tools you need. I didn't open my backpack either.
Yeah. So that's probably my favorite of our products that we currently have, just because all my bikes have it. And so I just don't even have to think about the tools. Like I just go for a ride and if I need something, they're there.
Cool. So that's a good one. That's like, you use it the most. That's why you like it. That's pretty neat. Can you talk about maybe a product that's been like the hardest to get right? Well, you said you had been testing one for 4 years, but maybe there's...
Yeah, probably some of the tools. They've been like getting that tool to fit in the handlebar, and have all the functions it does, but be a good tool and fit in the handlebar, I guess. Like, because you have like 17 millimeters, in diameter. And that doesn't even fit all bars. Some of the carbon bars get really thick so that it doesn't fit. It fits most bars. And getting that right was a long time. A lot of iterations. We had an initial concept probably a year and a half before we released it. So that's a pretty long development time for us, but that one was a real challenge. So my favorite one is the same one that's probably been the most challenging.
Cool. Well, I think that probably gives it some extra like feel about it. Like, you guys worked so hard to get it right. And then it's so great that it works well enough for you on every bike and stuff. So that's also an interesting tool because you have the sleeves, like there's some other material stuff built in. It's not just the tool itself, but all these aspects that make it work on your bike so well. Yeah.
So the sleeve was the hardest part about the tool, actually.
I believe that's why I brought it up. So
because it can't rattle. Like you can't put stuff in your bike, on your bike that's going to rattle. It'll drive you batty, right?
Big time.
And so getting that sleeve right to be compatible with all the different handlebars, but not rattle, but be adjustable. So there's like a little flap on it that you actually trim to fit your handlebar. So it's a nice tight. Anyway, that took a long time. Like, all right, we got this tool, it fits in there, and then we're going to put this rubber thing around it. But how do we make sure it doesn't fall out? How do we make sure it doesn't rattle? That was like a year.
Yeah, I believe it. And it still has to be like a high quality. You don't, not just like, hey, just wrap it up in some cloth and throw it in,
No, I mean, we could have said that, but again, that's not how we built our brand and not what we want to be associated with.
Exactly. Yeah. The tool turned out great. So that's really cool. Okay, cool. So speaking of, let's kind of jump. You guys have a whole bunch of these, machine tools in-house or machine parts in-house. You also launched a lube this year. Can you talk about how you took this jump from machining into the lube side of things?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, if you step back, we have a ton of experience with drivetrain, one by drivetrain specifically, and how the chain and chainring interact. We have probably just about as much data as anybody in the world on that. There's probably only a couple others like SRAM and maybe a couple others that have a lot of data on that. And additionally, each chain to chainring interaction is a little different by brand even.
Yeah.
Especially like the new Shimano 12-speed is a completely different system. And so we kind of took all that knowledge, and I wouldn't say we spent 4 years developing the lube, but we've been trying lubes for probably actually 5 years. Everything from wax base to, whatever, you name it, we've kind of looked around.
Yeah.
And really what we're after is something that would work in all conditions, not gunk up your chain and be long lasting. And, that's a real challenging set of attributes. Pretty easy to find a really clean lube that works in really benign conditions like road riding maybe, or time trial. You see some of these special time trial chains where they they polish them or whatever they do to make them super low wattage, but for most, for 99% of people, not applicable.
Yeah.
And so we came across a small company, SCC, and started working with them on developing a chain lube. And I tested it. That one I tested for probably a year through one of our winters. And you've been through a Minnesota winter, like the stuff they put on our roads, I'm not sure what it is. It's not even salt. It's beyond salt as far as how corrosive and nasty it is. And tested it through that, and then did some testing out in actually Southern California. There's some notoriously bad soil, in my experience, outside of Pasadena. There's just some stream crossings and some of that California moon dust and all that stuff. It's just like most other chain lubes, you're bringing a bottle with you on the ride, just to lube mid-ride.
Right.
And so we did a bunch of that, and it's holy crap, this stuff, it cleans the chain. That's one attribute it has. It lasts a really long time, and it basically ticked all the boxes. And this is coming from a guy that I was all wax all the time, because I was I got to have it clean. And so it was that kind of process of, we had other lubes that we could have brought to market, but we had to wait till we found the right one. If we never would have found the right one, honestly, we probably wouldn't have brought it to market, but we did, partnered with SCC, and now we have a lube, and it's a really sweet product. we're excited about it. Like everybody here uses it. It's not just because we make them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've been using it for a while and I really like it too, but it's like a little bit different in that you like it because it lasts so long, like you don't want to be applying it as much as some of the other ones out there.
That's right. It's like a drip per roller. And the other thing is like it does clean. Like you probably put it on and like the black crap comes out of your chain, and
yeah,
you just got that's stuff you don't want in there. But you basically have to wipe it for 2 or 3 rides, and then like I actually just lubricated my fat bike chain this morning before my commute in, and like I don't remember when I last put it on there. I was like, I should probably check this. It wasn't even getting squeaky, but I was like, so anyway, yeah, you go weeks without.
Yeah, which works perfect for me because I hate working on my own bikes. You know, I've done it for long enough with other people's bikes. I just would rather that thing works and I don't have to mess with it. So it's great because I always forget to re-lube. So it works great for me. And yeah, I really enjoy it. But now it does make sense. Like your drivetrain experts, the lube is such an integral part of the drivetrain. Why not have that too? So cool. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, so you have another new tool. There's the utility knife and kind of some of the add-ons for the 8-bit system. And spoiler alert, that's what we're actually going to be giving away at the end of the video. One of the 8-bit tools kits. Can you talk about like why you put a utility knife on a multi-tool, and like, do you have some time where you've needed a knife out in the field that made you
know? Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's come up numerous times. Out in the field, or even like, part of the idea with this is almost like a everyday carry type thing that you might keep in your backpack.
Yeah.
It is the goal when we set out to make this was like the most complete multi-tool kit that still function very well and is reasonably light and is modular. So like you can take the pieces you want, as you know, it kind of like all magnetically couples together. And you might be seeing some further developments for other options coming here in the near future.
Cool, yeah.
So, it doesn't stop there. It's a system. And now we can add in different pieces so people can kind of piece together their system that works best for them. So really wanted to create the most complete multi-tool kit we could.
Sweet. Has the knife saved you so far in some crazy story you want to share?
That one hasn't, because we haven't had it long enough. But there's certainly been situations where it would have helped. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I know a lot of folks when they're out on an epic ride, will toss an extra pocket knife in, and it's just like, that's a ton of extra weight that you don't really need most of the time, but cool that you integrated it, and it is really small and light for what it is. So yeah, we hope our winner loves that. So I guess that kind of brings me to the end of my questions, and just a reminder for our viewers, if you do want to win that tool, make sure you comment down below. If you're on Instagram, please tag 3 friends. And if you're on YouTube, just comment down below and we'll enter everyone into a drawing at the end of the week. We'll give one of those kits away. So thanks again, Brendan, for supplying that.
Absolutely.
Cool. And anything else you want to add in? We covered a whole lot of territory today.
No, I think, we're just excited to still, be innovating and be part of this industry. Again, we're just super passionate about it, and we got a pretty exciting year ahead of us. About a lot of it that we can't talk about, but I would say tell everybody out there to keep your eyes peeled and watch for the fun stuff we have coming.
Yeah, keep your eyes out for some cool new stuff coming in the future. It's definitely been a fun journey to watch. Like you say, coming from just a few simple chain rings and up to so much more sophisticated and multi-part, long-lasting products. So it's really cool to watch the journey of Wolf Tooth, and glad you guys are still out innovating and making all this great stuff.
I will say, I want to close with one quick story. So our first Interbike, we had just started the company. We all had our day jobs and all that. And we're at Interbike when it used to be in the big hall, and it was still kind of a thing. And we're way back in the corner against the wall, right? And Preston, one of your founders, came back and found us. And you guys were actually our first distributor anywhere.
Sweet.
Preston came back and he's like, I want to carry your brand. I've heard about you. And so we appreciate that.
That's awesome. Yeah. We definitely love, bringing young brands in, and especially when they're doing something innovative. So really great that we could be part of your story as well.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again, Brendan. And thanks you folks for watching. We hope you have enjoyed the video. And make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to comment down below. All right, we'll see you next time.